Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to be talking about my strategy and goals for 2025 as I plan to grow my portfolios and hopefully my overall wealth as I share it on this channel. Currently, you'll mainly know my channel from sharing my two portfolios, which is my stake portfolio which sits at around $57,000 and my Vanguard portfolio at around $42,000 to $43,000. Going into 2025, I plan to achieve the goals of hitting $150,000 in total market value between these two portfolios, which I currently sit around $50,000 off. I also plan to save for my first investment property and some other goals that I'll be going through in this video. What I hope that you viewers get from watching this is just a bit of insight into another investor's journey and my plans going into 2025. And hopefully you guys can share what your plans are, whether that be in the comments or reaching out. I'm happy to discuss and hear from others, but I just wanted to spend this time today, before 2024 ends, laying out some of my broad plans for 2025. Quickly, I wanted to reflect on 2024, as I've already done a video for it, and it's actually doing extremely well up on my channel, where I speak about how I went from $52,000 to $100,000 in stock portfolio value. But overall, just hearing that, it was a very good year for me, and I held many of my favorite companies which did very well, including the likes of Costco, Apple, Microsoft, VOO, Google, Amazon, and then in my Vanguard portfolio, I hold two broad market tracking ETFs, which are VLC, which tracks Australia's large companies ETF, and VGS, which is the International Shares ETF. Overall, having a look at this, it's been a very good year, and I plan to continue this momentum into 2025. Whether the markets help or not, my goal is to deposit $1,350 a fortnight, which is the equivalent of $675 a week, or $35,000 a year, into my stock portfolio as a minimum. What that means is, I'm counting on market returns a little bit and dividend payments to hopefully boost me up to that $150,000 mark. My goal is to still contribute extra, but I wanted to set this as a minimum for myself to hold myself accountable going forward to grow these portfolios to that $150,000 mark in 2025. I wanted to set myself a big goal, something that would give me a task to achieve, and such as with this year, which was $100,000. I think if I set myself a big enough goal like that, and I put myself to it, and with my extra income, which I'll be talking about later, and other opportunities, hopefully I can hit that goal and track all my videos on here for all you viewers to watch. Speaking of my 2025 financial goals, I did briefly speak about my portfolio. First, with my stake portfolio, the goal is to keep VOO around 50%. I'll go more into that on my Excel spreadsheet a little bit later, but this is my biggest position by far, and it's sitting at around 17,220 USD, or 31.4 shares. And I recently got a dividend from it for 54 USD, which is my biggest dividend I've got on my stake portfolio so far. Overall, it's been a good year for the S&P, and next year, even if it's not as well, I still plan to keep this position as it is, as I plan to make sure that I get the broader market returns, and the remaining 50% of my value of the portfolio I use to pick individual stocks. Whilst I'm talking about individual stocks, some of the positions that I've highlighted that I plan to focus on going into the year, depending on how they trade, are the likes of Amazon stock, which is a position I've recently been growing as well, and it's a very good year, up 45%, but I still potentially see growth in the stock. Same with Google stock, which is something I've held my eyes on as well, and I did recently grow my position to one of my bigger individual stock holdings at $4,368. And then any other markets that I'm tracking on my watch list, anything that I see as a dip, I will mind and do videos on it and keep you guys up to date and keep myself up to date on and honest on how my stocks are trading and just kind of reflecting. I use these videos a lot to kind of hold myself accountable to that I keep doing the deposits, that I keep investing in companies that I believe in. And going forward, my Vanguard portfolio, I plan to keep these two positions the exact same for the time being. Maybe that changes in the future. I'll speak on that a little bit when it comes to potentially buying an investment property, but more on that later to come. I also have a Excel spreadsheet here, which I'll quickly show, that I plan to use to track we can go from left to right. On my left here, I'll be tracking my monthly income. I've used this same spreadsheet in 2024, 2023, and 2022. It's not something I made, I found it online. Apologies, I found this years ago now. But I'm sure if you put a bit of time aside, you can make one pretty similar to this. If I knew the person who had did it, I would link it. But again, sadly, I did this in 2022. I found this, so it's been a few years now. But yeah, if you want to copy something like this, it's pretty good. I've found it's held good use for me over the past 3 years. Pretty much tracking my monthly income here. That flows through as well to my monthly budget. And then here on the left side, I have my total income and my total growth. So the total growth comes from moving to the right now. Here you can see I have my starting balances, growth, and month end balance, and my Vanguard portfolio, my bank account, and my stake account. So I'll track these as the year goes on, so I can see how much I earned and how much I grew and saved in total. This just kind of gives a nice little overview, and you'll see I use it later in my graphs as well. And then up here I have some savings goals and growth goals for the main three here. And again, here on the right side, this is just a bit more of a breakdown again. Whilst the one on the left was the monthly budget, this one is a bit more lenient. You can make it what you want, whether you get paid weekly, fortnightly, however. And then just here at the bottom, I have the net worth one. So this includes any debt I have, including student debt, like student loans. I don't have any credit card debt or car loans or anything, but if you do have that, then someone can put it there, or potentially your mortgage. So those are something that other people can do as well. And hopefully going into 2025, mortgage is something that I will be including in there, as it's not something I currently have. I just pay rent. So this is a quick overview of the general spreadsheet that I'll be using to track it. I briefly mentioned big purchases. So a goal of mine is to invest and use some of my money that I gain from these investments to go towards a house deposit on an investment property. One of the reasons I'm going for an investment property first is, again, this isn't tax advice or personal finance advice. Go get your own advice and do your own research. But just for me at the moment, it seems like it's probably the smartest thing to do, because it is quite expensive to buy owner occupiers in the areas that I want to potentially live in. So at the moment, I'm potentially looking at investment properties, but that is a goal for me in 2025, just to diversify, because I'm pretty heavily into stocks at the moment. So I think just having a nice balance. I don't really want to sell much of my stocks. I still want to keep it long term, but that is a goal for me in 2025, is to purchase an investment property. In terms of my long-term vision, like I mentioned, I want to keep these stocks and keep growing them year over year. I am still 22 years old, so hopefully by the time I am 30, 40, whatever the case is, this can potentially even be $1 million portfolio. And then those dividends will be coming in, the growth will be doing itself, and I can just continue to slowly deposit. And then one day this can really help me set me up for a strong retirement or just strong general day-to-day living. What I do here at the bottom as well, which I'll continue to do, I'll keep adding the months and I'll share it on here, is my balances for my stake in Vanguard. I track them. And I really love this part of it, because I made this on myself, this part of it, where I can see each month how it's tracking. This kind of gives me a bit more of a long-term view of how my stocks and my portfolios have been. Even when down markets like 2022, the reason why it's up is because I've been dollar cost averaging. Like I said, I want to deposit that $1,350 a fortnight into this account. So that's kind of a big goal of mine. And as long as I keep doing that, bear in market, fingers crossed, knock on wood, if there's no major downturns, if there is even, I'll hopefully use that as a buying opportunity like I did in 2022 to keep growing these portfolios. But when I just track it like this, it really is motivating to see the growth. And it will shoot up again this month, because at the very end, because how I track these is it's at the very last day of the last month. So it's the amount going into the month. And for example, my stake portfolio was sitting at is basically $6,000 more than that now. And my Vanguard portfolio is basically like $5,000 more than that now as well. So very, very good month for both my stocks. Next, I wanted to go through kind of a bit of a deeper dive into my investment strategy and just kind of explaining why I focus so much on ETFs. If you do your own research, you'll see it is quite hard to beat out the market over an extended period of time. Again, I am a young investor, so I have a long investment horizon ahead of me. So that's why I want to keep getting this broader exposure to the general market as well. So that's a key goal of mine, is just to keep this around 50%. So if we go back to the Excel spreadsheet, what you can see here in the American portfolio, it's currently sitting at 49%. So it's pretty much smack on. The next investment I do will probably be into VOO, just keeping that around 50%. And then that remaining 50%, I get to have a bit of fun, pick stocks I like, pick stocks I believe in, and maybe even beat out the market long term. And then with my Australian portfolio, I keep it around 60-40 between Australian and US or broader international shares. So having a look, VGS is a very broad international holding. It holds around 1,500 stocks, I believe, but it is still heavily weighted towards the US, as many indexes are, because of the size of the companies. But yeah, that's the kind of the goal with these two. The goal with my Vanguard is to keep it a bit more stable, not have too much going on in that one. It's a bit more of a long-term account, where my stake portfolio, I'll do a few trades throughout the year. The Vanguard one, I just kind of want to build, and the goal for this portfolio is to get it to 50,000. I should hopefully be able to do that by March or so, maybe even before that, maybe February next year, hit $50,000, which will be good. And then for my stake portfolio, I don't have a set dollar amount, but even maybe $70,000 would be quite good. And then long term, I want to keep them around roughly the same value. Now, having a quick look again at my Excel spreadsheet, brief thing I covered shortly, and I've covered it a bit in videos as well, as dividends. Again, I highlight every time, I'm not a dividend investor. Obviously, I like dividends when they come in. I just reinvest them all, and it's nice to see the growth over time. But this is the same thing. Every single month, I calculate how much dividends I got each month, and I put them in here. Obviously, I haven't done the December ones yet because it hasn't ended. And I track that over time. You can see the dividends slowly getting bigger as it goes on. So like I said, maybe this extra dividend money one day I can use it as a second source of income or passive income. But at the moment, my main goal with it is just to keep reinvesting it so I can keep that snowball going, because it's much better served in there than it is me taking it out, especially at the time, because I find I'm more likely to spend money if it's in my savings than I never take money out of my stock portfolios, or very rarely I do. Another quick thing I wanted to talk about was not just investing in my just finances, but also investing myself. I'm planning on doing some further education next year, studying potentially for the CFA. So I'll be maybe doing videos on this channel tracking my progress. It is a very big exams to study for the Chartered Financial Analyst program, if anyone's ever heard of it. But I'm potentially looking into doing that. It's been spoken to me about for my job, and potential going forward. It will hopefully help increase my income. And no matter what, even if I don't pass it, I've still spent time studying and learning more than what I did before going into it. But I think it might be interesting to do kind of some videos tracking my experiences studying, and maybe doing some videos on here of kind of my day-to-day stuff, because at the moment all I do is track my portfolios. Maybe this will show a different side as well to my day-to-day life. Some final things I wanted to do and speak about as well was just encouraging other people to share. Again, my last video on this channel did extremely well. I think it's only been up for 2 days and it's at 1,100 views, which might not sound much for some other people, but that is massive for me. So feel free to share in the comments your thoughts going into 2025, what your strategies are. It's nice speaking to people and getting their ideas as well. I'm not really on social media as much, so I don't really have any other stuff, but I'm trying to stay pretty active on here. I worry next year my uploading might slow down a bit. I have a bit of time off work now, so I've been uploading more and more. But obviously next year, studying for the CFA, working full time, I'll continue to do the one video a week, and I'll try to get more out if I can and keep holding myself accountable to do more shorts. But I'm getting pretty close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, so it'd be pretty cool to have this channel monetized maybe one day. And my plan is, if it does get monetized, it's just all the money that I get through that is just planned to be reinvested into the portfolio. So even at one point, it can almost be self-funding, where my day job kind of pays for my mortgage and expenses, and then my money I get from sharing the portfolio pretty much funds the portfolio. That would be pretty cool, but that's a bit of a long-term goal. that I need to hold myself accountable to consistently uploading. A big issue for me at the moment, being transparent, is watch time, because I don't upload enough videos. So I plan to try to maybe make a bit more longer form videos and hold myself accountable. But this was just some of my strategies for building wealth going into 2025. So feel free to share what your goals are and what your plans are. But that was my side of things, and thank you for watching.